The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah! Go Cowboys!
Let's go, baby!
Are you ready for a break?
Yes.
Are you ready for a break?
Absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com
We were on the break!
with Ambar Garcia, Brian Broaddus, Patrick Walker, and Derek Eagleton.
It is Wednesday, June 5th, 2024, Season 20, Episode 9. Welcome into The Break, presented by LG. I'm Nicole Hutchison alongside Brian Broaddus and Patrick No C. Walker. By the way, I was 7 years old when this show was started.
So is that how we're starting?
Oh, yeah.
We're just going to jump right into
Just had to
making
jump
us
right
feel
into it.
old.
Hey,
Okay,
man, I'm
bet.
sorry. I'm sorry,
Not
guys.
old, seasoned.
How y'all doing?
Seasoned.
It's
I'm
my
good.
first time on a show with y'all.
I'll tell you what, excited. Yeah, we got the word that you were coming on board. So nice to have you.
Nice to have you guys here with me as well, but a lot of things to talk about. Obviously, CeeDee Lamb, the topic of discussion, not at minicamp, missing mandatory minicamp, obviously awaiting a contract, a big contract, as we can expect. And we know that Jerry Jones said that, he was waiting for the leaves to fall. Well, another big leaf fell with Justin Jefferson's contract and $110 million, 4 years guaranteed, $88 million up front, averaging $35 million per year. I mean, guys, I've got to ask with this one, how urgent is this contract now, considering the things?
Well, it's the redwood tree has fallen is what basically has occurred. But up to this point, the reason discussions between CeeDee Lamb and the organization has stalled is because a number hadn't been put out there yet. It was kind of like what Brian said a couple episodes ago, in that these agents, they know each other well, and they use it to play the market in each other's favor. So Justin Jefferson's agent is waiting for CeeDee Lamb to get done. CeeDee Lamb is waiting for Justin Jefferson to get done. You got Jamar Chase in the mix, and then to a lesser degree, you got guys like T. Higgins and those guys out in San Francisco. But with Justin Jefferson landing now, the mark has been set, right? So now if you're CeeDee Lamb's agent, now you can go to Stephen Jones, Jerry Jones, and you can say, this is the number. Here's where we're going to start this conversation. And that should expedite things at this point. That, combined with the fact that CeeDee Lamb's absence is drawing him fines from being absent from minicamp. So I think that this week, with Justin Jefferson's deal landing, I think that puts a lot of fire to get this deal done. Yeah,
And that's a legitimate number. Yeah. $35 million. Yes, I was asking around the league, and when you talk about the other wide receivers, Hill and guys like that, and everybody, saying, oh, well, this is a $30 million receiver. And the cap guys are all telling me, no, that's a $24 million deal. No, that's a $27 million deal. You just got to look at the back end of these contracts and see, where that number is. And I asked about this one. I said, is this one of those contracts that $35 million is not the legitimate number? And my guy goes, oh, no, that's a legitimate number right there. So that's where you're going to start playing. And I think the thing that we have to know is that my experience with the Joneses is that when you negotiate with the Joneses, if you don't try and reset the market, you tend to do a little bit better. They'll get you close. And, CeeDee will argue, well, hey, Justin Jefferson, I'm one of the best. Look at the numbers, look at the comparisons and all that. But, if you look at how Diggs' deal got done, it wasn't the one that reset the cornerback market. It put him in the ballpark where it wasn't very to call the roll, wasn't a lot of guys to call the roll. It was a few guys, but he was right in that group right there. And I think the Joneses understand that part of it. They don't want to reset the market. They've done some resetting markets before if you look at Ezekiel Elliott and some things like that. But they're more likely to get a deal done if you come in at or slightly below. And, if you're CeeDee Lamb, making $34 million a year is a pretty significant jump for him. And it puts him in that conversation, and there's a lot of pride with these guys, the highest paid guy and all that. But, sometimes you got to be able to read the room. And I think that's what CeeDee Lamb and his agent need to do. Read the room, kind of look at some previous contracts that have been done here, and it'll probably give you a better understanding of how you need to operate to get this thing done.
Yeah, I do believe that the Cowboys are 100% in on making the deal comparable.
Yeah, absolutely.
They've always been adverse to setting the market. They've not always been able to avoid doing so.
Right.
Ezekiel Elliott, Dak Prescott.
Right.
Dak Prescott likely again here soon.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see where they split the baby, for lack of a better way to put it. Are you looking at CeeDee Lamb? Maybe he comes in at an AAS average annual salary of 36, which puts him over Justin Jefferson, but maybe the guaranteed is 108, 109, 105, something like that. Or in inverse, maybe they give him, 111 million guaranteed, but the average annual is like 34, something like that.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting, but this Justin Jefferson deal is going to be the catalyst to this deal getting done here soon.
For the numbers that CeeDee Lamb did put up in 2023, what's a number that you guys feel is realistic for CeeDee to receive?
For me, as long as it's comparable, I think that there's an argument to be made for CeeDee Lamb being the best wide receiver in the league.
Yeah.
There's also an argument for Justin Jefferson to be, argued as the best wide receiver in the league. And because of that, for me, it's always been over 30. So it's never been under 30. So for those that having that conversation, we don't want to pay the wide receiver 30 outside of the building conversations, you've not been paying attention to the market, all right? So it's always been over 30. Stephen Jones basically said that during his draft press conferences. But now that we know Justin Jefferson is mid-30s, and honestly, that's a little bit surprising because I thought Justin Jefferson would land a little bit closer to 40. So the fact that he came in at 35, I'm completely comfortable with CeeDee Lamb at 35 or even 36. It's more so, especially in the NFL, it's about the guaranteed money more than it is the max contract value, because as we well know in this industry, in this particular sport, you might not play out your entire contract. So it's about getting as much guaranteed money as you can.
Yeah, a couple of things are really kind of dangerous here for the Vikings, and maybe a positive as well. Dealing with a rookie contract with J.J. McCarthy. So now they're not paying their quarterback $50 million. So that's a little bit easier for them to swallow. The thing about it now is, will Justin Jefferson's numbers go south because of a rookie quarterback and development there? At least the first couple of years of the deal until maybe J.J. McCarthy figures things out. Maybe J.J. McCarthy doesn't figure it out at all.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden you've got a wide receiver that's making $35 million a year, and his numbers go from 112 receptions to 76. Because you have a quarterback that's not able to get him the ball with any consistency because he's learning. The one advantage that CeeDee Lamb does have is, at least for one more season, is Dak Prescott throwing him the football. Those will be CeeDee Lamb is the one guy, when you always in front offices, you always worry about these contracts, and you're worried like, will the guy live up to the contract? I see CeeDee Lamb living up to his contract. There's not a lot of guys I could say that about, but he has gotten better every year that he's played in this league. Yeah. So to me, there is some justification for paying this guy what he deserves, because every year he has gotten better.
And to kind of piggyback off of that, something that all of the guys have said with Mike McCarthy being under the system, calling the plays one more year and having already done it before, it's really helped. And I feel like they're a lot more confident in being under that system already. But I'm sorry, Patrick, I didn't mean to cut you off real quick. No. That was just something that just kind of piggyback of what Brian said.
What I was going to also add is the intangible of the chemistry between Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb.
Right.
And how will one contract play into the expediency of the other one getting done? So assuming CeeDee Lamb gets done first for obvious reasons, because CeeDee Lamb isn't in a situation where a rookie quarterback is coming in. This chemistry is already established.
Right.
The Cowboys have hard data, hard evidence to say, if you want CeeDee Lamb to continue playing at the level that you just saw him playing at, you have the quarterback in the building to continue to do that going into the future. So once CeeDee Lamb's deal gets done, presumably it will here soon in the next few weeks, maybe in the next few days, maybe today, who knows. Then the Cowboys then have to look at CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott and say, hey, we don't want to break up this tandem because we know how dynamic this can be. So I really think that one plays into the other favorably.
And also to make sure that everyone understands, he has been engaged. Mike McCarthy did use that word.
Is the word.
Use that word in the press
Engaged.
Conference multiple times. He has been engaged. He has been in contact with the coaches, so no concerns there. But do you feel like there's a little bit of cohesion, I guess, issues that are concerned about the cohesion as far as the other guys and like Jalen Brooks, maybe a Jalen Tolbert? Do you feel like there's anything there?
No.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, the thing that's interesting about you talk about Lamb holding out though, and the cohesion and stuff. He's seen this done before. Yeah. If you look at and if you look at previous, we call them holdouts, but guys that don't show up. Yeah. We've seen it with Ezekiel Elliott. Mm-hmm. We saw it with Zach Martin with our own eyes last year. We're all at training camp, kind of waiting. We're watching the right tackle, right guard spot. We're going, wow, looks kind of bad out there without Zach Martin playing right guard, And so, and I think the Cowboys are, their eyes aren't lying. We're watching the same thing, and so now you're sitting there, and they've had a history, and I hate to use the word cave, and it's not cave. It's okay. Let's do this. Let's come to this. Let's do this now. And so his strategy is a proven one when you deal with the front office of the Dallas Cowboys. And I mean that in no disrespect, but agents look at this. Look at Dak Prescott's. He's totally comfortable right now of, hey, I've seen this done before. Yeah. They've they maybe wait a little bit, but at the end of the day, he got maybe $20 more million than he would have got if he would have signed. So being patient against this front office, and I mean this in no disrespect, generally will reward you. Yeah. And so I understand his strategy. I really, really do.
Yeah, and when it comes to the cohesion part of it, I don't see it as being an issue at all, because not only has CeeDee Lamb remained engaged, that's the key word, this entire time, he's also been in contact with his guys, Dak Prescott and these wide receivers, outside of the building, as far as workouts and things like that. And keep in mind, these guys do a lot of work in the DAC yard as well.
The DAC yard, yeah.
Right. So as far as chemistry and cohesion, that's not going anywhere. That's not going to be a big thing. The only instance that it would become an issue being used very lightly here is a rookie like Ryan Flournoy, who wants to get with CeeDee Lamb as quickly as possible. But until Lamb gets here, guess what? He gets to attach himself to guys like Brandon Cooks. Right. He gets to attach himself to, Jalen Brooks and Jalen Tolbert and guys who've already been here. So when CeeDee Lamb does come in the building, also keeping in mind that not only is he the definitive leader of that wide receiver room, but this is the same offense. So much
that would be the issue. Yeah, if this was what if CeeDee Lamb was a defensive player, now yeah. Well, so the thing with Micah, and I've learned this, and I know Cole, you'll probably get into this, that the thing about with Micah, we'll do that later on. But right now, finish this thing. Yeah. The fact that it's the same offense and the same scheme and same ideas and same coaches and all that, that's a totally different thing on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think it also kind of helps, kind of going back to Patrick's point, helps Jalen Brooks, Jalen Tolbert get first-team reps in practice. Yeah. How much do you feel like that kind of benefits them, though, from y'all's point of view?
It's huge. Obviously, the Cowboys would love CeeDee Lamb to be here in the building taking these reps. That goes without saying. Yeah. But the silver lining to him not being here, also knowing that he's still preparing outside of the building, he's still engaged with his coaches, his players, his quarterback. It also gives you the opportunity to look at Jalen Tolbert and say, you know what, we just moved on from Michael Gallup, so here's some more reps for you. Let's see what you can do. Jalen Brooks, former 7th-round pick going into year 2, you did some good things when given an opportunity last year. Let's get you some first-team reps. And that started as recently as OTAs and continued in yesterday's first minicamp on first team. So you saw those guys getting reps. But that also elevates because of rising tide, right? So a rookie like Ryan Flournoy, who might more so be relegated to third team on the outset, now he gets elevated to doing some second-team reps with Cooper Rush and Trey Lance. So, I mean, until CeeDee Lamb gets in the building, these young men have to take advantage of these extra opportunities.
Well, I think you're seeing an example, too, with, like you say, the various receivers. It appears to me that they're trying to get a lot more of these guys involved and trying to figure out some scheme things that they can do with because they've got a bunch of talented guys. It's just a matter of, okay, who fits in this role here? Yeah. We go 11 personnel. Who's the slot? Who's the outside guy? So it gives guys a lot of opportunity. Turpin was a guy yesterday Turpin was a guy, and I hope I'm not giving government secrets here away. I mean, sometimes you have to be careful because you can only shoot it during period 1 or period 3 and not period 5 or period 6. But they go 3rd and 1 right off the jump, and I'm not going to tell you how they did it, but they first 2 plays of 3rd and 1, short yards, what do? They get the ball to Turpin, And so, that's one of those things where you're like, oh, okay. I see what we're doing here.
Got a lot of burn, a lot of targets in OTAs
sure did.
as well.
Sure did.
Perfect example of CeeDee Lamb not being in the building. Let's see what Turpin can do in different situations and different schematics. So Turpin is definitely someone to keep an eye on, not just as CeeDee Lamb is absent, but even when CeeDee Lamb comes back, because the way Turpin is showing up, I mean, he's really showing up with these catches. I've not seen a drop yet from Kevontae Turpin. His routes are as crisp as I've ever seen, and his confidence is sky high. So when you talk about Deuce Vaughn starting to get some reps at slot, Jalen Tolberts and the Jalen Brookses of the world, and even Ryan Flournoy, they're going to have their hands full with keeping Kevontae Turpin off of that field on offense.
Yeah, and Turpin, obviously, you saw his time on offense. Offensive snaps kind of diminished a little bit towards the end of the season in 2023, but I'm expecting to see a lot from him. But Deuce Vaughn taking some reps at the slot. I mean, realistically, do you feel like we may see a little bit of that in the season?
Yeah, no, I worry about things like this, and I tell you why I worry. Because now they're hunting a position. Yeah. They could sell it as being versatile, but any time that you continually try and, if things were working out for him really well at running back, they wouldn't move him to slot receiver. Right. And I noticed it last week when we were watching practice. I was sitting there with Jane Slater, and I'm going, Deuce is standing with the wide receivers here. As they're going on the field, off and on the field, he's not standing with the running back group. He's standing with the wide receivers. And then, she asked the question. A lot of people asked the question afterwards. And then he gave us the Cole Beasley line and stuff like that. I, as a personnel guy, would worry because then the coaches are telling me, this guy we brought in, I don't have a real plan for him right now at running back. So I'm going to try and find something else for him to do. And hopefully it works out for him. Hopefully that part of it works out. Because there was a 4th and 2 play last week, and Cooper Rush threw him a little out route there, and he got the first down. So maybe there are some things that they could do. But, man, he is going to have to play special teams. He's going to have when they dress 48, this isn't like at Kansas State where they dress 70, and go play football. They dress 48 here in this league. And to be one of the 48, you got to be bringing some plays to the game.
They're doing what we have kind of been pounding the table this offseason for them to do, which is try to figure out a role for Deuce Vaughn and how to keep him on this roster. But it is concerning, like Brian said, because if you look at other names from other positions, Isaac Alarcon, right? Didn't work out offensive line. They tried him at defensive line. Josh Ball didn't work out at the edge. They're moving him to the inside. Right. When you get your position changed, it's kind of indicative of you not succeeding quickly enough in the position that they drafted you in or signed you in. So when we look at
Golston's another guy to me. I keep watching Golston play tackle in, tackle in, and I'm like, when you don't have one spot, and I'm sorry, Pat, I completely interrupted you there, but it was just when you don't. They did it with Tyron Crawford too during the Rod Marinelli administration.
Up, down with the weight,
all of a sudden he's playing 3. Oh, he's a great 3. No, we need him at end. Yeah, we need him. And now he's out of the league, and you're like going, wow, that was kind of a waste. You look at some of these McQuamu, Nashawn Wright, these guys, safety, corner, slot, where, and then they're not playing anywhere, and you're like going, okay, well there was another one of those. But when you get to this point where you're trying to move guys around, you don't have a spot for them right now.
And here's what makes it a bit more concerning if you're looking at it from a Deuce Vaughn perspective, is that the running backs room is stacked with bodies.
Man.
Okay. Yeah. So they're trying to figure out if you can contribute in the wide receivers room, but the wide receivers room is even more stacked with bodies. And we just finished talking about Kevontae Turpin. And you know that CeeDee can play all 3 positions. Yeah. And Jalen Tolbert, Cooks, Jalen Brooks, he can operate out of the slot as well. My point being, the path doesn't get any easier as a wide receiver. So if you're Deuce Vaughn, you're really going to have to start showing something either or, running back or as a wide receiver. But to Brian's point, you also have to figure out how to carve out some reps on special teams. Yeah. You're going to have to figure that out. Now, maybe the way the new kickoff rules are set up, typically you want some bigger body, you want some linebackers and stuff like that. But figure out how to get Deuce Vaughn involved in 2 facets of the game to get the value there. But what might also work in his favor is there's chemistry coming in by the way of Cooper Beebe, right? The former Kansas State lineman who has blocked
Yeah.
for Deuce Vaughn. So maybe that familiarity and that chemistry will help him from a running back position. But the thing with Deuce Vaughn is right now they're trying to figure out how to get him into space.
Yeah.
I've got a question for both of you, and I know you probably got to take a break, so I don't want to.
No, you're fine. Go for it.
Go for it. Do you think the third running back is on this team currently as we speak?
Connor Lipke.
Yeah, but he's a fullback.
Well, yeah, but I like the way that he.
I think you're going to carry 4. I think you're going to carry
if you
4.
carry 4, then
Because that means you're probably going to carry. Now you got to think about these tight ends. You talk about a stacked room when you're dealing with numbers.
Boy.
Okay, if you consider Hunter Lipke is on this team, don't consider him the third running back. You probably. I don't think they'll cut Zeke. I think Rico. I think Rico's.
Zeke and Rico.
Yeah. But is the third running back currently on this team?
I think.
And I just say the third guy. It doesn't have to be the third special teams. But just the guy. Do you think? Because I don't know if the starting running back's on this team.
No.
I don't know that.
I think they're open. I think they're open to the reality that the third running back may not be on the team.
Yeah.
Right now, as we enter training camp, but I don't foresee them making any moves prior to training camp to, add to that position because they want to see what Royce Freeman looks like versus Snoop Connor looks like at RB3. And assuming that you pull Hunter Lipke out and you drop him in his own bucket at fullback, because I do believe he's made the team. He's going to be on the team.
Yeah, me too.
And they're just going to let the thing play out in training camp. But I really believe in my heart of hearts that if things don't start shaking out the way they want in training camp, then before the regular season kicks off,
I totally agree with that.
I think it'll be interesting to see how McCarthy used the running backs or the wide receivers in the running back game. Yeah. I think that it'll be interesting to see if maybe he uses more of Turpin coming out of the backfield. Maybe use CeeDee Lamb like he did a few times last year. So I think that if they don't find the running back number 3, then you've got to just be creative with the guys that you already have at receiver.
True. Problem being is that while CeeDee Lamb was very effective being used as a running back, Kevontae Turpin was not necessarily. So it could break left or it could break right in that capacity. Yeah. So you don't want to have to. It's fine if it's a special package that you pull out every once in a while and you say, hey, we're going to throw a curveball to the defense. CeeDee Lamb, this is going to be your handoff. Kevontae Turpin, this is going to be your handoff. That's much different than saying we are so deficient at running back that we're going to consistently go into every game with the game plan of using a wide receiver as kind of a third running back. That's not what you want to do.
All right. Well, we are just getting started with things here on the break. We've touched on wide receivers. CeeDee Lamb is obviously not present, but Micah Parsons is. We'll be breaking that down coming up in the next break. You're watching the Cowboys break. We'll be right back.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savannah. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Cowboys fans, after that move, we've just coined the term Rowdy Replay. Let's roll back the tape.
Okay, there's our mascot Rowdy cheering on the boys. And now he's on his phone, on his Bank of America mobile banking app?
Staying on top of his finances with his virtual financial assistant, Erica.
Bank of America's digital tools are so impressive. Cowboys fans just can't stop banking. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/can't-stop-banking.
Erica is only available in the English language. You must download the latest version of the mobile banking app, only available on select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. Member FDIC.
Welcome back into Dear Doctor, the show where I answer life's questions with an ice-cold can of Dr. Pepper. Sheila, let's hear from our next caller, would you?
Dear Doctor, my friend supported me during a tough time, but what's the right gift that says, thanks for being a shoulder to cry on?
Okay, this one's easy. I say give her a delicious Dr. Pepper. Nothing says, thanks, girl, better than a one-of-a-kind soda. Yes, any Dr. Pepper flavor will do. Now, just a reminder that I don't need to be a real doctor to know that Dr. Pepper is the one you deserve.
They say champions are remembered, but legends are never forgotten. United Ag & Turf offers a winning lineup of John Deere equipment built to tackle any challenge on and off the field. Legendary John Deere tractors, combines, residential mowers, commercial mowers, compact construction equipment, Gator utility vehicles, and a full line of golf and sports turf equipment. United Ag & Turf, the official Ag & Turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com to find a location near you.
Back to the break.
Enjoy excellent dining and boutique shopping, exciting events in the Star District in Frisco, featuring dozens of North Texas' best restaurants and shops, plus a calendar full of family-friendly events. There's always something to shop, dine, and do at the Star District. Visit thestardistrict.com for more info.
Ooh, the Star District has a lot of star restaurants, but the Cowboys have their sar pass rusher back here in the Star.
Somebody went to school to do this.
That's a bar.
But no, I mean, he did not attend OTAs, but he is very present at mandatory minicamp. I mean, I've just got to pose this question first. You know, how big is it having Micah Parsons back in this building?
It's big because, speaking for myself, I wanted him in the building prior to now, and I get it. What do voluntary mean? Shouts out to Hambrick. I 100% get it. That being said, unlike CeeDee Lamb's side of the ball, the defense has a massive tectonic shift happening. From Dan Quinn's regime going to Mike Zimmer's regime, you have coaching turnover at almost every level of the defensive coaching staff. And in addition to that, obviously, you have the rookies coming in that you want to try to get him mentoring and things like that. So much more to figure out on the defensive side of the ball. I would have loved to see Micah here prior to mandatory minicamp, but that was then. This is now. He is in the building. He's on the field effective yesterday. So it's big because it'll help him immediately, and we'll talk about this in a second, immediately get to work with Mike Zimmer in figuring out what his role is going to be in 2024.
What about you, Brian?
Yeah, this is something I've said on a couple different platforms now, and I believe this, and I'd be interested if you probably pulled Mike aside and put your arm around him and just had a conversation with him. I'd like to ask him, you hate classroom football, don't you? You hate being in the classroom and talking about football. You love to play the game. You love to be on the field. You love to rush the passer. You're one of the best pass rushers I think I've seen. I've been around the Reggie Whites and guys like that. I've been around some great pass rushers. You're one of the best I've seen. But you hate classroom football, don't you? I bet you he would tell me he does. I think Micah Parsons doesn't like the OTA aspects of classroom football. He's talking about taking care of his body and stuff like that, which he does. And he talks about, but you don't go out and wrestle sumo people, and potentially he described it as potentially concussion every time you butted heads with those guys. Yep. How about blowing out an Achilles trying to keep a 320-pound man from moving you?
Right.
That things. Micah's going to do what Micah wants to do. Yep. Micah hates being in the classroom. The coaches will tell you, Micah will bounce from classroom to classroom. He'll show up in the wide receiver room, show up in the running back room, show up with the quarterbacks. Micah loves rushing the passer. Micah didn't want to be an off-ball linebacker. You have to study. Have to figure those things out. Have to watch tape. Look what the great ones did. The Dat Wins, the Dexter Coqueys, the guys that came before him, those guys that I've been around. Had to study. Sean Lee, God dang, you had to study. You have to sit there and all day and watch film. Leighton Vander Esch, have to sit there and watch film all day to be good at this. Rushing the passer's mom and dad. That's a God-given talent right there. And I think Micah Parsons, I wish he'd just honestly say, and he's been real honest, wish he'd just honestly say, I hate the classroom aspect of football. And that's why I don't like OTAs.
He's more than hinting at it. I mean, he's almost there. That's the point of saying it directly. Yeah. I know we're going to play some sound quotes, but something yesterday that he said that I put in the story on the .com, quote, it's hard to coach someone without pads or true contact and hand points. It's not even realistic when you can't touch each other without losing a draft pick. It's outrageous. That tells you that he's frustrated with the OTA portion of it, where it's just showing up, walking through, sitting in the meeting room, not being able to put your hands on people.
Play football.
Right. He wants to play football. So to Brian's point, he's that kind of a football player.
Yeah.
And also to Brian's point, he said Micah is going to do what Micah wants to do. He made that very clear in the press conference yesterday. In third person. Let's go ahead and take a listen to what he had to say.
The more years you have in, the more you understand that there's also like the business side to it. And, whether I like it or not, there's rookies or people I came with that's not even here anymore. And I think that's what camp is for. I mean, there was a time where Aaron Donald didn't even go to camp and he won Defensive Player of the Year and he realized his team in the playoffs. Like, are we forgetting these times? Like, you're talking about the best defensive player wasn't even in camp. And we're in minicamp, or voluntary at that. So, camp would say something that's mandatory. So I'm just looking at a time for my body to heal. I'm an undersized rusher who's gets banged up every year, so I'm just letting my body heal. I'm just trying to grow, strengthen, and really just get ready for the year.
As I'm ramming into sumo guys in Tokyo.
What's y'all's thoughts on that?
He is, he you know what? This is the line, Nicole, that you have to walk when you're in a front office or on a coaching staff. Star players.
Yep.
Jimmy Johnson, legendary coach, Dallas Cowboys, said this. And star players are treated differently, you know? You understand, hey, a star player, you're going to do it this way. Player 48, he's going to get treated this way. Yeah. And Micah Parsons knows that. You know, and does Mike McCarthy last week for you guys in the media was kind of hinting like, hey, I'm not happy. I understand I'm not happy, you know. And, you want all your guys to be here. I mean, look at the attendance that they had. There's a couple of guys that had to make business decisions. Yeah. But as a coaching staff in the front office, you have to be very careful walking that line with your star players because you don't want to be the guy or gal that says something that completely just ticks them off away from what you're trying to do. And it's a tough thing to be in because you have to walk that line. And the players, because they're stars, put you in that position. Yeah. But you live with it because you know your livelihood is dependent on number 11 putting his hand in the dirt and getting to Jalen Hurts twice a year.
And once the interview got publicized on social media, Twitter specifically, obviously there was a faction of fans that had some outrage, and then came the trade him for, but no. Let's not replace him. Because you got to understand that when it comes to a player like Micah, and I mean not only of his caliber on the field, but his character, right? There are going to be times where he makes you laugh, and he does that, and there are going to be times where he makes you cringe with the soundbite. Yeah. But you don't trade Lawrence Taylor. You manage Lawrence Taylor. You get the right people in to, as Bill Parcells. You get the right people in to manage. And there's a story that I was reminded of Bill Belichick told recently about the meeting, the team meeting. Lawrence Taylor was 5 or 6 minutes late to the meeting. Belichick goes to Parcells and says, hey, I just want to let you know that LT was late to the meeting. Parcells looks at Belichick and says, why'd you start the meeting before you got there?
Yeah.
This is what Brian's talking about. When you're talking about star players, and particularly a generational talent, unfortunately, that talent knows they're generational talent, makes them a little bit more difficult to manage, but you don't handle them like you handle player 53 on the roster. You just don't. Because, let's say you did make the mistake of trading Micah, okay? Let's say you got a slew of draft picks and 3 of them were edge rushers, blah, 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 blah. Can you promise me that those 3 edge rushers combined could get you the production on an annual basis that Micah Parsons could? You can't promise me that. And because you can't promise me that, don't make the mistake. So I understand that some of the comments fans might find cringeworthy. Okay, fine. But I will also say social media didn't exist in the LT days, in the Michael Irvin days, in the Charles Haley days. And if it did, you would understand just how difficult.
Those guys would be in jail, though, too.
You understand just how difficult it can be to manage those generational talents. But also you would understand that Micah Parsons isn't as bad with some of these sound bites and his off-the-field behavior as some of those legends were. So a little bit of grace, or maybe a lot of grace, is required here because of what he's able to do on the field.
When you talk about managing generational talent, that's Mike Zimmer's new job now, handling Micah Parsons. He addressed his communication with him.
Right, no, absolutely. Well. Yeah, Mike Zimmer, I can go all the way back with Mike Zimmer working in this front office with him, and Mike's best friend is Deion Sanders.
Yep.
Talk about managing somebody. Or having to manage somebody that didn't like to practice, didn't love to play, loved to compete, loved to play multiple sports, had outside interests, liked to fish, liked to do things other than practice meaningless football. I think for Micah, I think the problem that a lot of people have with this whole thing with Micah is the leadership talk. And I know we got into it a little bit last week. There's different ways to be a leader. And, when you're talking about leadership roles, especially after what happened in that Green Bay game, there's a lot of guys that came out and were talking about, we need to do this different. And And the fans are like, wait a minute, you're telling me these things, but you're in Philadelphia, you're in Tokyo, you're in somewhere else.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing that people, they want something different. They don't want to see what happened in Green Bay again. They don't want to see that. And whatever that means, leadership or practicing or whatever they have to do, avoid that at all costs.
But I'll add to this conversation, for those that want Micah Parsons to be a choir boy, are many of you not the same fans that were pissed off during the Garrett regime at right kind of guy? Right? Because you said, oh, well, the Cowboys need to get some dogs in here. They don't have enough dogs in here. They don't have enough guys with just that kind of mentality where it's just like, I'm just going to go kill somebody on the field. Yeah. And maybe off the field, they weren't that choir boy. Now, Mike McCarthy era, the Cowboys, they're less worried about choir boys and more worried about getting guys in here who can actually be destructive in games at their respective position.
Right.
You can't always have it both ways. So which one of those things do you want? Would you prefer to give up Micah for 3 RKGs?
Yeah.
Or who may not come close to his production?
I will say this. I think fans want you to have playoff success.
Then that 100%.
I think that's 100%. Where we're at right now. I think the fans, if we were in Arizona, Atlanta, Carolina, one of these places, they would be so happy having 3 12-win seasons in a row.
Expectations.
So, yeah. The problem is you get in the playoffs, and that's where the Dak Prescotts take the arrows. Mm-hmm. That's where the Micah Parsons take the arrows. Mm-hmm. Because
DeMarcus Lawrence.
Yeah, DeMarcus. That's where the guys take the arrows. Coaching staff takes the arrows. Front office takes the arrows. Ownership takes the arrows. Because as a fan, you're like, listen, fine. I'll buy the NFC Run the East championship hat. I'll be happy to wear that. But what are you giving me beyond that? Mm. That's where I think fans are now. I know working on 105.3, the fan on our shows. Yeah. This is the first time I felt a fan base that is really like saying, enough. Yeah. And it's spreading out, not just on one player. It feels like it's spreading on Dak, but all these players, front office, Jerry, all these people are feeling that. Stephen Jones, Will McClay, they're all feeling that because the fans are like, fine, yeah, great, championship, NFC's championship shirt. You're the 2nd seed, you get bounced by the 7th seed. You get bounced at San Francisco. There's no shame in that. But it's just the way this has happened the last 30 years. That's where I think the fan base is right now. They don't want to hear it anymore.
Right.
They want to see success, and not just winning the division success. They want to see a lot more. They see the Lions getting to the NFC Championship game. They see other teams. They see Houston getting to the next round. They see, where's our team here?
Yeah.
And make no mistake about it, the fans deserve exactly that. They deserve a playoff run. They deserve a championship, especially for those that are not old enough to have ever experienced.
I was a young man the last time this team won a championship.
So they absolutely deserve it. Yeah. And there is, and I believe going into this season, this is going to be one of those rare instances where a lot of the fan base is going to be dissociative until January.
Yeah.
Right? Where they're just going to be.
I agree with you when you said that earlier. Yeah. I totally agree with you.
They're going to enjoy the ride as much as they can, but it's going to be right here at median. Yeah. And then it's not until January comes that they're going to sit up and say, okay, now show me what you're going to do.
Yeah, you go 9-8 and don't make the playoffs, fans are going to be standing at the gates out here with the pitchforks and torches. and they're going to be yelling for, and there's things, and there'll be changes. Yeah. Probably the head coach will change. Maybe the quarterback will change. There's going to be sweeping changes here. And that might not be good enough for this fan base. It might not be. This fan base has been spoiled for a lot of years of winning games. Trust me, there are some organizations. Carolina has never had a back-to-back winning seasons in their history. And they've been around since '95. I know it's not that long. But think about that. They've never had back-to-back winning seasons. I'm like, Cam Newton? No.
Nope.
Jake Delhomme? No. They went to a Super Bowl? No.
Yeah.
But this fan base, I think they're past their eyeballs now. I think there are a lot of things they're tolerable of, but I think we're past their eyeballs now.
And I'll say this, and I'll throw it back to you, Nicole. Circling back to the the leadership aspect of it from Mike. And I said this on this very show a few weeks ago. I said not every elite soldier is designed to be a general, right? And I think that that's what Micah Parsons falls into as far as category-wise. Keep in mind, there are people who are up in arms at CeeDee Lamb at certain instances in 2023 because they didn't like his demeanor on the sideline, because they didn't necessarily understand how his mind processes things. But if you're sitting here telling me that he's not the leader of that wide receiver room, I'm telling you, you're crazy. Brandon Cooks is a leader in that wide receiver room, but even leader. Brandon Cooks defers to CeeDee Lamb. So I say all of that to say, it's all about managing expectations. You have to know with a particular player who has the ability to lead production-wise versus vocally. Dak Prescott is your vocal leader, and he can lead by production as well. Micah is not the vocal guy. CeeDee Lamb is not the vocal guy. But when Lamb and Micah are on the field, that's how they lead by example, because they're constantly challenging other guys to be to the standard, to play to the standard.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I can agree with that, but I think that there's also some level of sense of urgency that you have to have, especially in a year like this with Micah Parsons, and that's involved in making sure that you're at OTAs, even though it's not voluntary, making sure you're at everywhere you need to be. And granted, McCarthy did say in the press conference that he had been in the building every now and then and engaged. Engaged, that word. But, you've got to be...
Had some lunch with you the other day.
Had some lunch, right? But no, I think that there's got to be a level of sense of urgency.
He should have been here for
and that means also having more words to say to Mike Zimmer. He also addressed that yesterday in the press conference. Let's go ahead and take a listen real quick.
Sorry, it's not firing. Give me 1 second, guys.
It's all right. Well,
Beamer's on it. But it's once we get it queued up,
there we go.
We'll hear that just how interesting the summer is going to be when it comes to Mike Zimmer
got it now.
And Micah Parsons. You ready?
Yeah, we're good. And realize team in the playoffs, honestly, man, me and Zim probably said a total of 20 words to each other. Yeah, he's a very quiet person, and all I keep hearing from the coaches is Zim likes it this way. I was like, well, I like it this way, so I can't wait to have my true sit down with him. I think it'll be pretty cool, because obviously old school mindset, old school mentality. But I think he has a lot of great players, but he ain't never had a Micah before, so it'll be fun, and I think it's gonna be unique. There's a lot of similarities on things, how he used me with how Dan used me in the system, but he has more twists and turns of how he's going to set things up. And also, there's some things that I got to get used to too. It's going to be a compromisable relationship. There's going to be things he's like, I'm not going to give on, I don't give on.
Before we take our second break, I've got to get y'all's thoughts real fast. Brian, go ahead, take it away.
Yeah, I know. I've known Mike a long time.
And, nice precursor to what you're about to say.
I'll say this, though. I think Mike understands.
Yeah.
I absolutely do. And I think that Mike Zimmer of 2003 would probably lose his S over that. Mike Zimmer, 2024, I think he understands, okay, I need this guy for my defense. I need this guy. I have a weapon here that I can use. And we've seen just in some of the practice we saw yesterday, moving Mike around a little bit and trying to find spots, double A gap blitzes, things like that. So to me, I think that sit down will be good, but I think that Mike Zimmer will look at him in the eye and say, man, I need you every day during the season. You might go to Tokyo and do what you need to do before, but when we're here, when this thing starts, we land in Oxnard, I need you here every day doing this. And Mike's very direct about that, because if you don't, I know this about Mike, if you don't know what you're doing, he won't play you. Now, you're saying, Broadus, he's got to play Micah Parsons. Yeah. But you know what? Mike he's not going to tolerate what happened in Green Bay, where you're busting coverages and guys are running free all over the secondary and stuff. He's not going to tolerate that. So he's going to sit down with Micah, and they're going to have their back and forth. But Zimmer, I think if this was 2003, there would be probably a lot of cursing going on back and forth. I think Mike's a little bit more like, okay, this is what I need from you, and he'll lay out the expectations.
I think it'll be a firm dialogue. I think Micah Parsons is going into the dialogue feeling as, okay, I have some points to make and being open to hearing some of the points. And Mike Zimmer's going to go in having the same energy. And I don't think, Zimmer, to your point, I don't think Zimmer 2024 is the same as, even Zimmer 2020.
He was a mean man in 2003, 2002. He was mean.
But that being said, Zimmer he stood right out here not a few weeks ago, and he said it has to be done my way.
Exactly.
That's a quote. He said it has to be done my way. Yeah. So however those two need to come to that understanding, I think ultimately that is the understanding that will happen. I think Mike is going to end up giving more than Mike Zimmer will give as far as the supposed compromise that Micah Parsons is looking for. But I also feel that if Parsons does, then this defense can be much more successful because Zimmer obviously, like Micah Parsons knows how to play the position, arguably better than anyone playing the position right now. You can argue Myles Garrett and TJ Watt, obviously. Yeah. But there's also a lot to be said for what Mike Zimmer brings to the table. He's been there. He's done that. He's seen it. He's coached some of the best. He's coached some Hall of Famers defensively. So if I'm Micah Parsons, I get it. He's never had a Micah before, but you've also never had a Mike Zimmer before.
Yeah, real quick here, though. Real quick. There's not a lot of time here because coaches' contracts, we all know. We all know what the history is right now. All these coaches are really on 1 year's deal. Mm-hmm. So there's not a lot of chance for growth. Yeah. Whatever agreement they come to, it's got to be quick, it's got to be swift, and it's got to be right now. Because this time next year, we might be talking about a whole nother thing.
It'll be a very interesting training camp.
Even Micah said that. At the end of all of that Q&A, it was said that it was like, it's going to be a fun training camp, and he kind of smiled and looked at the camera. He was like, "It is." Yeah. Take that for exactly what it's worth.
For sure, a lot of battles as well. When you talk about this offense, who will emerge as the number 4 pass catcher? This offense found a spark, and obviously Lamb, Brandon Cooks, Jake Ferguson. We're going to break that down though coming up in the next break.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah's savannah. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Don't put off getting your oil changed, Dallas. Take 5 Oil Change. A proud partner of the Cowboys is faster than you think. There's no appointment needed and no waiting room. Yep, you heard that correctly. Take 5 is so fast, you don't even have to get out of your car. You can take advantage of Take 5's fast, friendly, and simple service at any of their locations across the Dallas area. And remember, at Take 5, you stay in your car because they're faster than you think. Take 5, the official oil change of the Dallas Cowboys.
It's the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black. And right now, Cowboys fans can get 15% off their $75 order. Plus, because every deal needs a playmaker, your order will include a free 5-piece skincare set and free shipping. The Jack Black Playmaker is 4 of Jack's favorites and a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Make a play for the playmaker at getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP.
They say champions are remembered, but legends are never forgotten. United Ag and Turf offers a winning lineup of John Deere equipment built to tackle any challenge on and off the field. Legendary John Deere tractors, combines, residential mowers, commercial mowers, compact construction equipment, Gator utility vehicles, and a full line of golf and sports turf equipment. United Ag and Turf, the official Ag and Turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com to find a location near you.
Back to the break.
The schedule is set, and limited tickets for the 2024 Dallas Cowboys season at AT&T Stadium are available now. Don't miss your chance to see the Cowboys live at AT&T Stadium when they host the NFC East rival Eagles, Giants, and Commanders, plus the Saints, Ravens, Lions, Texans, Bengals, and Bucks. Visit DallasCowboys.com/tickets or SeatGeek.com, the official primary ticketing partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
All right, guys, I know we have a little bit left in the show, but it's only right to talk about this Cowboys.
I got to give somebody some credit here, too. The second segment is brought to you by Blockchain.com. All right. Carry on, young lady. Carry on.
There we go. No, I mean, I know we have a little bit left in the show, but it's only right to talk about this Cowboys offense, right? I mean, you have Jake Ferguson at tight end, CeeDee Lamb, and Brandon Cooks, who finishes the top 3 in receiving yards and targets. Of course, 4th and 5th were Michael Gallup and Tony Pollard. But when you're trying to find that 4th pass catcher, who's that guy?
For me, it's Jake Ferguson, and technically Jake Ferguson is your 3rd target.
Yeah. I think he's actually the 2nd.
It might be.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're going to look up and you're going to see at the end of this, when we're all breaking this down in January or February, whenever we do this, that we're going to say that CeeDee Lamb and Jake Ferguson were the most 2 targeted guys, and then now it's Cooks and Tolbert and all the other guys, everybody else. Yeah, I think it's what we're going to see.
I think Jake Ferguson goes over 1,000 yards.
Ooh.
I'm putting that on the table right now.
Okay. And we're going to run that back.
Yeah, I think he goes over 1,000 yards, and I think he's definitely a Pro Bowler, and I think he's in the conversation for, at minimum, 2nd team All-Pro.
Yeah, I'm going to go with 4th, maybe Jalen Tolbert, and I say that because you see the confidence in him this offseason and the way that he's carrying himself. He feels more confident, one, in his ability, but also the fact that he's been under Mike McCarthy's system already. What have y'all seen so far in minicamp out of Jalen Tolbert?
Last week, man, there was just, I just have this vision of him coming back for the ball, and I think he got caught between wanting to body catch it and hands catch it, and his body was out of position, and Dak hit him. Dak hit him right in the middle of the one, but it was to the point where he was trying to and it was a drop. Mm-hmm. And then he came back with another catch, and I was like, okay, get him back on track. But I'll tell you what, man, there's going to be some competition for that 3rd spot. Yeah. And a lot of it, we've seen receivers when we've been out there in Oxnard. We've seen the all Oxnard receiver team, where these guys have like a week of really good practice, and then you're doing stand-ups about, man, I'll tell you what, this guy,
David Dirt, he's making some plays today.
And then 2 days later, you want to go into a hole, And I'm the same way. I talk about it on the radio. I'm like, got to watch this kid. Looks like he's getting, and the next thing you know, he is not even on the practice squad. Oy. And so but they've got to avoid that. Playing receiver is so difficult in the National Football League, and especially when you go through training camp, it's constant running. It's constant soreness. It's constant up and down. The consistent receivers. It's like it tied in with John Stevens. He was able to go through every practice. It was the same practice in a positive way. At receiver, you can't have 5 really good practices and then 3 really bad ones. That's what these guys have to avoid in getting ready for this season. And the ones that survive it are going to be the one that's going to be receiver 4, 5, and 6. Yeah. And everybody else is going to be on the practice squad.
Well, one thing's for sure, and that is that Jalen Tolbert's self-confidence is repaired. Yeah. It is definitely nothing like what we saw in year 1 with him, where he was overthinking versus just simply going out there and playing football. Mm-hmm. So the confidence is there, it's fully rebuilt, and it is glowing. That being said, as we watch him take first-team reps with Dak Prescott, to the point of competition, we're also talking about Jalen Brooks taking reps. Yeah. First-team reps with Dak Prescott. And eventually in training camp, you're going to see Ryan Flournoy taking reps, taking some snaps with Dak Prescott. And then keep in mind, you talk about the all-Oxnard team, Jalen Cropper. He was impressive last year in training camp before the injury at the back end of training camp kind of derailed his potential rookie season. So, I mean, you have so many bodies, so much talent, and then you know, that was prior to you going into the draft and getting a pure athlete in Flournoy, who he's your definitive X, but, I mean, his routes that he run, they're already better than Michael Gallup's routes. I mean, that, not to shade Michael Gallup, but it is to say that you have a rookie coming in who, although he's built like an X, he's more athletic than a traditional X, and he can run routes better than a traditional X. So that pushes the Jalen Tolberts and the Jalen Brooks of the world that much more so. So it's, I mean, that's a position that you got to watch.
Yeah. In the spirit of Jerry Madelon, I'm going to explain something here.
Hi, Jerry.
Right.
X receiver plays on the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
So the Z, when you hear the Z, that's the move. That's the motion guy. So if you always hear somebody, Patrick just talked about the X, that's the guy that stands on the line of scrimmage and runs the slants and things like that. The bigger, generally the bigger body receivers. So I had to do that because
Jerry did just save me from Jerry, because we're meeting with Jerry next week.
Yeah, Jerry will remind you that like when you talk that way, you have to explain what a 3 technique is. You have to explain, under tackle. You have to explain these things. But yeah, I'll to me, Brooks is an interesting case.
Yes,
Brooks is an interesting case, and I wouldn't be surprised if Brooks beats out Tolbert.
Ooh.
I wouldn't be surprised. I would not. I think he's going to be the guy that has the consistent practices every day. And I think he's going to play through. He's got a little bit of an edge and toughness about him that I don't think things bother him. And I'm gonna throw it out there and say that that Brooks will be over Tolbert when this thing's said and done.
What I also say is, dropping down a little bit behind WR3, keep an eye on Corey Crooms, the undrafted rookie that was signed. He showed me some things in rookie minicamp, as much as you can show in rookie minicamp. OTA showed me more. And now that we're having mandatory minicamp, I'm really keeping my eye on him to see what he's doing with that third and second team reps, because he might push a guy like Jalen Cropper.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you have other guys like Racy McMath, and then you have Tyron Billy Johnson, who was re-signed.
Man, he is a good-looking kid.
Yeah.
But he walked by me, and I'm like going, whoa.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, look at this guy. You know, him and Overshone. I mean, I stood next to Overshone yesterday, and I'm like going, man, my gosh, he's put on a lot of weight in a good way.
It's muscle.
Big guy.
It's
a big guy.
Yeah. It's muscle. So that wide receiver position, man, we talked about the running backs room being stacked more so for wide receivers, and that's going to be a very, very fun battle in camp.
And we're also if we're talking about pass catchers in general, John Stevens, tight end. I know Mike McCarthy's very excited about him coming back this year. I know
he's an athlete.
Yeah, he had a heck of a preseason last year.
He's going to cost somebody a job.
Yeah, I think so too.
He's going to cost somebody a job.
Yeah.
When you talk to Lunda Wells, and we did here recently, obviously Lunda has a lot of praise for his group in general, right? Especially with guys like Jay Ferguson, what he's been able to do. But the way that when you step aside from Jake Ferguson conversation, which is an obvious glowing conversation, you start talking about some of these younger guys, the Peyton Hendershots, John Stevens Jr. coming back, and even like the rookie coming in, Brevin, Span Ford. So, but the way there's a glimmer in Lunda's eye about John Stevens.
Yeah.
John Stevens' injury, his torn ACL, was the only thing. Even Stephen Jones basically said it. It was the only thing that kept John Stevens off of this roster last year.
Consistent practices throughout.
Right. So this is a guy who can, as a tight end, he can line up off the line as a wide receiver. He can line up on the line, and now he's put on muscle due to his injury. So now he can maybe be an inline blocker when you need him to be, which adds more value to him simply just being more so a red zone threat or giving you some wide receiver reps. John Stevens is going to cost somebody a job. We'll see who that is, though.
Inline blocker next to the tackle.
Ooh. Y'all got me ready for training camp. It's my first training camp. I'm excited. These position battles are going to be fun.
Thank you, Jerry, for always putting that in my head.
There you go.
All right, well, that'll do it for today's episode. This was fun, guys.
Thank you. Did a heck of a job.
Thank you, guys.
You're such a star.
That'll do it for today.
And she washes her hands.
Oh my God! Duh, I hope so.
You never know. Shouts out to COVID.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!